In order to evaluate each expression, you have to look at the exponents because that tells you how many times something is happening. So this right here means -5 3 times. So what this exponent tells you is to do -5 times -5 times -5. Now for negatives, it takes two negatives to make it a positive, so this negative cancels this one out. This negative doesn't have anybody to cancel it out. It doesn't have another negative to cancel it out, so it stays negative. So your final answer is going to be negative, and then you do multiplying. So 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 5 is 125, and you just multiplied 3 5s, and that's what it said to do. So -125 is the answer. This one, if you make a big long fraction, I'm going to have 4 2's in the numerator and 2 5's in the denominator. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. So that's going to be 16 in the numerator. And on this one, 5 times 5 is 25. And 16 over 25 does not simplify, so that's your answer. Write each expression using exponents. So we have 7's here, so you write what you have, and then you count how many you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that becomes your exponent, and that's the answer. Here we have C's, and we have D's. For my C's, I have 1, 2 of those, and for my D's, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So C squared D to the 4th is the answer for that one. To express a scientific number in decimal notation, first of all, let me write this down here so I can work with it. Now, you want to look at your exponent. If it's negative, you move to the left, because all negative numbers are to the left of 0 on a number line. If it's negative, you move to the right if it's positive, because all numbers to the right of 0 on the number line are positive. So this literally means take the decimal and move left 3. So 1, 2, 3. That's going to be where your new decimal is, and then any spaces you fill in with zeros. So the final answer is 0.00613. Express each expression without using a negative exponent. Whenever they say that, make a fraction before you even look at the problem. So I'm going to do that for both of these. Now it doesn't say evaluate, it says express. So right now we are just rewriting. We're not getting a final answer. So this 5 doesn't have an exponent, so it stays where it's at. The x to the -4, the negative exponent makes it move. So I'm going to move that to the bottom, and when you do that, you take the negative sign away, and that one's done. This one, the 8 has a -2 as an exponent, so you move it to the bottom. That takes the negative away, but you cannot leave a fraction without something in the numerator, so you have to put a 1. And it didn't say evaluate, so that could be considered 1 over 64. But since it didn't say evaluate, you don't have to do that part. Okay, what is 4 over 9 written as a decimal? Well, the 9 on the bottom means that the top number repeats. So if you put the top number with a repeating bar, you are finished. Okay, 0.63 written as a fraction in simplest form. So what you do is you write down everything that's after the decimal and make that a fraction with a 1 on the bottom. Now because you have two numbers repeating, you're going to put 2 zeros. Okay, but the repeating bar takes 1 away from the denominator. So that is 63 over 99, And then you have to simplify if possible. We can divide these both by 3. So I'm going to do that. So 63 divided by 3 is 21. And 99 divided by 3 is 33. And 21 over 33, you can divide those by 3. You got to keep going until you can't simplify anymore. 21 divided by 3 is 7, and 33 divided by 3 is 11. So 7 over 11 is your answer. How is 1 over 6 to the 7th written using a negative exponent? Well, it's the opposite of what we did before. If you want a negative exponent, write a negative exponent down. But last time you had to put a 1 in, and now you take a 1 away. So that's the answer. What is the solution of c squared equals 81? Well, it's probably easiest just to make a list of squares until you find it. So c equals 1 squared. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. 7 times 7 is 49. 8 times 8 is 64. I almost wrote the wrong one. Sorry about that. And 9 times 9, or 9 squared, is 81, and we have the number. So the number out front is your answer. Okay, what point is closest to the square root of 79 on the number line below? Well, let's look at the list we just made. We're looking at 79. 79 is between 64 and 81, but it's closer to 81. So the answer is going to be between 8 and 9, but closer to 9. So let's see. 8, oh, right here, D. D is the answer. That's the one that's closest to 9. Okay, what is the value of the cubed root of 125? Same thing we did with the squares, except we're going to use cubes. So 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125, and that's the number that you're looking for. So the number out front, 5, is your answer. Order the set of numbers below from least to greatest, small to big, and verify your answer by graphing on a number line. So I'm just going to order these and put them on a number line. Okay, so since this is a square root, I'm going to go ahead and just leave that number alone. Leave it as a 5. And this one, it's got a negative in front, so you got to write it as a -6. Now this is not a radical, so what you do is just scratch out the fraction and figure out what 2 times 2 is. 2 times 2 is 4, and this one's going to be -3. That one's already done. Actually, no, it's not. You got to make it radical. So 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so here's what you want to do. You want to start with the negatives. You want to start with those first, and the one that looks the biggest is actually the smallest. So you want to do -9 first. Wait a second. You got to make it look like the original problem. Sorry about that. -9 was actually -3. And then negative square root of 6. And then 2.5. Got to remember you scratched out that half originally. Got to put it back in. And then the square root of 5. Okay, that's the answer. Okay, express each number in standard form. So because this is a negative exponent, it means left 8. So I'm going to take this original number and move the decimal left 8 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the new decimal. Any spaces get zeros. So the answer is, usually you want to put a 0 in front of the decimal. Okay, you're going to have 7 zeros and then a 1039. And this one is positive, so it's saying right 3. So 9.44. When you go to the right 3, you have to put a 0. The decimal is going to be at the end. So 9,440 is going to be the answer on that one. In 1 week, there are 10,080 minutes. What is this number written in scientific notation? Okay, let me write this down so I can work with it without the comma. Okay, so in scientific notation, you want to write times 10. You put a decimal point after the first number that's not a 0. So right here, and you draw a line. And then you draw a line at the end. Now you count how many numbers are in between the 2 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. That becomes your exponent. You take off any zeros at the end, don't count, and then you write whatever's left with your decimal. So 1.008 times 10 to the 4th, and you're finished.